on with the next session. This one is talking about ICO as the future of the nation, and ICO, initial coin offering. And all this stuff is related back to blockchain technology. Now, this is something very, very new that I think a lot of people are not on top of yet. You probably heard of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is one use of blockchain technology. What is blockchain technology? It's basically a distributed database. We've used cryptography to come up with a way to have a massive distributed database that is auditable and you can check and it's secure. Now, one of the implementations of that is cryptocurrencies. The information being stored in the database is who has what, who has how many Bitcoins. But the idea is there is still a distributed database going on underneath Bitcoin, and that is what blockchain technology is. Now, ICO, coin offerings, a very interesting application of blockchain technology. And to tell you all about it and to lead our next discussion, I'd like to welcome to the stage Peter Moritz.
Is it on? Is this on?
Let's go, champ. There we are.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So ICO raised $3.6 billion this year. There's about 1,300 different ICOs and cryptocurrencies that happen. So a lot of small companies able to compete with big companies around the world. And what's great about it, then you don't have to be, if you're Estonian, you can get money from not just from the Estonian community, but around the world. That means some kid in Peru has a computer, can also involve in your idea that you came up with. So how can we make that ICO into startups to work into the government? So we have a couple of people here who are very knowledgeable about this, and you know the first one is Kasper Korjus, who's e-residency, and he's your #1 provider of and support of Estonia and being out there as a diplomat. He became a father 6 months ago, so I want to introduce you to Kasper. I'm sure everybody knows, so please, Kasper, come on, and I'll come back and talk to you guys more about ICOs. Cheers, man. Good luck.
Hello. So yes, nice to see you around my hometown Tartu. Could you please help me around? Raise your hand. I have 3 questions. First, raise your hand if you're Estonian citizen. Wow. Thank you. Raise your hand if you're e-resident of Estonia. Ooh, 5. Raise your hand, and the last question, if you see that kind of your values match with the values where you're from. The national values and your own values match and you feel good about that. Thank you. Most of Estonians love their nation, that's good. What I'm trying to do in the next few minutes, I'll try to show you how we are transforming Estonian nation to something new, to something which is perhaps more sustainable, and how all this blockchain, Bitcoin, ICO thing can help us to make the next step. For that, allow me to go a bit back from history, just a bit. Humans. Let's consider this stage here a timeline. Humans existed already a few millions years ago, like millions of years humans gathered, they hunted together, there were small groups, arguably up to 20 people, and they traveled like nomads. Just 12,000 years ago, agriculture revolution kicks in. It's like kind of this point here. People survived more and more in larger groups. People were stable, they domesticated animals. And just a few hundred years ago, so if I take my hair, this here is the time when actually agriculture kicks in, industrial revolution kicks in, and together with the industrial revolution, nation states. The timeline of how we see nation states is so fresh thing. So first of all, let's not consider at all that nations will stay as they are today. And together with nations, we have now markets and nations who actually rule these things instead of families and communities. And it really depends where you were born. More and more it depends where you're born. This is a border of 2 different states. And whether you're born in one side of the border or other really depends where your life will be. It's like, what I like to say, it's like your life is like lottery. Imagine that you were born on Facebook. And imagine that you were randomly allocated to one Facebook group. And you need to stick with that Facebook group forever. There are great Facebook groups, like Science, STARTUp, e-residency, my favorite. But there are Facebook groups which I don't like so much, like that planet Earth is flat. So you need to stick with that Facebook group forever. And how do you feel that? You can fight against that, but basically they forced you to be there. And this is what I see happens with nation states. You were randomly born at some nations, and even if they are developed nations, it generates conflicts. You don't like that. Your values don't match with the values you were forced to. And now what happens to the timeline is that through automation, what we believe in Estonian government, through automation we can automate everything literally that can be automated. And within next years to come, humans are becoming more location dependent again. Back to the first slide. We become nomads again. We don't have to have that direct relation to our nation anymore. And we can choose where we live and work. And this kind of changes the role of nation state also. And this is what I'm going to tell you, how we as Estonian government see that role changing and what we do. 3 years ago then we decided that we will become a borderless nation state, that every person on planet can become our digital citizen. We had some digital citizens here, but digital citizen means that you are part of us, although not physically here. You can consume our services, and we have new relation with you. And this is possible only because Estonia is decentralized and very scalable way how it's built up throughout the last years. Estonians know the word X-Road. This is the real screenshot of X-Road. It's mostly automated transactions between each other. All of those transactions has Unicash, which is blockchain, which shows the credibility, builds the trust, and very scalably you can add services. Throughout the last 20 years, we have added thousands of services, and like Estonians here know, we can do those things digitally. And now we open these gates for foreigners. Every person on the planet can be part of us. What are the first services? Instead of me telling, I'll show you 1-minute video. What today e-residents do.
Our new digital world knows no borders, and great business ideas are no longer limited by where you work or live. E-Estonia is a digital nation for global citizens, for those who've thrown off the shackles of national boundaries. Literally anyone in the world can apply. E-residency is legitimate and transparent. A government-issued digital identity that gives you the freedom to run a global EU company online from anywhere in the world. Establish a company within a day. Access business banking. Use international payment providers. Digitally sign documents and contracts, and declare Estonian taxes online. We're Estonia. Tech is our expertise. And through e-residency, we are empowering entrepreneurs everywhere. No matter where you were born, no matter what passport you carry, you can apply. Use e-residency to run your business from anywhere in the world. Unleash your entrepreneurial potential, because no business should be bound by physical borders. Apply for e-residency today and join our new digital nation. e-resident.gov.ee.
Since launch just a few years ago, there are over 28,000 of us who are now bigger, making Estonia bigger, mostly running their companies through Estonia, establishing companies, bank accounts, remotely managing that. And I'm very happy to tell you, as there are so many Estonians here also, then last Friday there was Deloitte's research published showing the value of e-residents grading to Estonia. And from 2015 to 2025, the net present value is discounted cash flow is 1.8 billion euros already, which kind of shows that this is now going to transform our nation also, because the revenue models of our nation can change. Instead of taxation, we can have something different, and we are not dependent on the physical locations anymore. And what does it mean? Is that there is something as our nation can offer to internationally, globally, to everyone. And this is why we see our nation and e-residence as gift for everyone in the world, as a second home, second nation for them to join if they dislike their own or if it's not satisfied for them. And it's great to see that actually we can win out of that also. The good thing also is that it's already started to scale, so every week we have now more e-residents than last week, and the growth rate is now bigger than Estonians born in Estonia, meaning that there are no way back. And this is the new world we're living, and we also make this possible now for companies who want to issue crypto tokens, and I was asked to say a few words about that. Crypto token companies find and try to find their home, where to do that. Last month, when I published the blog post of sTcoins, Estonia got lots of attention through that Estonia could be the place for crypto token companies, and Estonia itself could launch its own crypto token, sTcoin. And the use of that crypto token, first of all, would be to raise funds. At the moment, we have our initial validation round that we believe that Estonia could raise extra 2 to 3 billion euros through sTcoins. We want to keep that as investments. And secondly, to use this as utility token, to use that inside the community. So the use cases of sTcoins would be for us to promote our business environment. For example, if you help other e-residents, you could earn sTcoins. If you create content for e-residents, you could earn sTcoins. And you could use sTcoins to exchange value inside the community, to pay bills, taxes, and pay for service providers. Why not? And it really helps to stimulate, and like private sector can make this motivation to use their services the same way nations can. And it's very early stage, of course. And in next coming month, we are then launching new blog posts, and feel free to join in the discussion. How can we take that to next level? And later we discuss here further. The point is that we see that nations become borderless, and Estonia made the first move. Already Azerbaijan has copy-pasted even our website and launched their e-residency. And next year, 4 other nations are coming with their e-residencies, including, for example, Cyprus, Singapore, and some else. Meaning that nations will start competing who offers the best services, who attracts the most digital citizens. And the first time, your wealthiness of your nation is not directly dependent how many children you can born in that land, or how many lands you can conquer through war. Because land is not so important anymore. The important is who has the best users, best services, and attracts the most users through that. And here the smaller nations have quite a big opportunity actually to compete with larger nations and offer the best ones, because there are absolutely no limits. We already see month-over-month growth at e-residency, but it's a very early stage. If this continues, there are no limits that Estonia shouldn't have hundreds of millions or billion users to the best service. Because in private sector, you're not going to use the second best service, you're using the best. And the same, we believe, happens with nation states. And each nation can't have all their services the best. Each nation needs to find what's their role in this new world. What is their best service, what they want to offer global to everyone. Estonia can be a business for freelancers. Switzerland can be the healthcare hub, if you want to do healthcare. Singapore can be corporation hub. Why not USA can be physical protection for us? So I want to leave here instead of you asking questions me, I'm asking questions from you. If you think 10 years time from now, think about those topics. What nation in the world serves 1 billion global citizens? Can Estonia be that, or who beats us? Because those citizens don't need physical location dependence anymore. They want to subscribe to something which offers the best. What services will you use from your own country if you're a digital nation, digital citizen of 10 other nations? I truly believe I have digital ID cards of 7 different nations after 7 years. And I asked the same question for myself, will I continue using any services from Estonia? What will be the source of income for the country if the cryptocurrencies are eating up all the taxation? Do we need taxation as our revenue model anyway, if we can have monthly-based subscription? What happens with nations who go to scaling mode and scale 1000% GDP per year? Should there be limits of 4% GDP like today? And this is where the ICO conversation can really help. Digital identity goes together with crypto tokens in that sense that it can go to this positive loop. The more e-residents own, the more crypto tokens, the more they value this, they want to contribute further, that their crypto token price will increase. This further generates more revenue donation, and if this positive loop continues, the nations go to scaling mode. And what happens to those countries who can't find their role in this new world? Thank you.
Hello. So next up is Edward Valley. He's an investor in blockchain. He's a trader in blockchain. He's also a VC, family office. So he has a very good understanding how the ICO and the blockchain and the crypto world works from way back. So he's not a Johnny come lately. He's been there from the beginning. He's from Denmark, and he has a couple great slides that actually give a little bit governments around the ICO, how it should be working, because one thing lacking in ICO is regulations, and so each country come up with their own little regulations, from Malta to Gibraltar to the Zug. So a pan-European regulation that make everything work much more efficiently and much more regularly governance going forward, I think is something that is very needed. And he has a couple great slides that can talk to you about it, and we're going to have a chat afterwards, see how he can come to any conclusion on it. All right, thank you guys. Welcome, Edward.
Thank you, man.
No problem.
All right. Wow. Such a crowd, such a crowd. Thank you for having me here, Casper. If you hear me backstage, such an honor to be here with you and try to challenge whatever you want to do here in Estonia as the first nation probably doing ICO, who knows. Maybe it's going to be very big. I believe the intentions are amazing. So I'm here to take a radically a little bit different approach on looking at ICOs and particularly state-backed ICOs. And trying to challenge a little bit, trying to challenge the intentions behind the state-backed ICOs. And I will make it short. I see I have only 10 minutes here, and it's running. So what I want to do is trying to take an academic approach and show you a couple of slides, and probably use it as a framework on evaluating and planning for a state-backed ICO. But before I go further, I want to show you a couple of predictions about what's future for ICO and crypto world. And I saw this 10 predictions in Forbes, and they come here. Bitcoin, $100,000, fully decentralized exchanges, nations will struggle with tax collections, government issue. Crypto is real. That was actually something caught my eyes, and I thought maybe something here I need to share with you and tell you a little bit about what's going on here and how people see this. Hope it's true, even though government issue cryptos probably going to be real in future, they will be totally against the spirit of blockchain, because who wants blockchain to be centralized? Or can governments make sure that we are decentralizing the decision makings around the token offering? Who knows that? We don't know it. And nations, yes, they will struggle with tax collections. And I'm not talking about people who are not paying taxes or people who are avoiding to pay taxes, money laundering and so forth. It's the matter of where you pay taxes. Are we going to have Estonia as a tax collecting nation for 1,000 of entrepreneurs? So this is the question, and oh yeah, nations will stockpile crypto weapons, and who knows? There will be a lot of fight between nations if they want to do ICOs, all of them, and already I don't want to mention some of the nations. This is not my job. My job is actually challenging a little bit the space, and I know that they are probably planning to disrupt each other a little bit and fight with each other. And lastly, what I really fall in love with this the fully decentralized exchanges, which is annoying me as a trader. And I've been in this space for the past 7 years, and I can see, you know, we really need this. We really need to have exchanges which are decentralized and not sole people or sole corporations are controlling everybody's trade and so forth. So anyhow, that was something I want to share with you, and I hope you can enjoy what the future brings and get excited a little bit about that. The other thing I want to share with you is the framework we have been building to evaluate ICOs, particularly state-backed ICOs, which are basically trying to provide a set of checklist, you can call it, or a set of kind of framework for how you can realize a good and successful ICO. The first thing I want to probably point at is how you want to structure your token. Which type of token would you like to have? And what the function is behind the token, and are you giving any rights to your token holders? And how would you distribute that token? These are something we would like to discuss at the panel with Peter and Casper. And the other thing I want to show you is about the ecosystem, which we have been dividing it, as said, is very academic. I have no pictures. It's something we have been dividing between technology, community governance, and economy. And we have been looking at various parameters and trying to question ourselves if we are, for instance, working with the right governance structure when we are issuing our ICO. And lastly, we want to measure the risk around it. When we are talking about the state-backed ICOs, we need to question ourselves about economic environment, political environment, financial sector. Are there any risks related, and how would these risks affect the ICO and the success of this ICO? For instance, is there any currency parity between the mother currency and the tokenized version of that? Or is it really a tokenized version of that? And among others, we also want to know a little bit about the political environment. Are we talking about a stable political environment? Suppose that it's another country who want to do an ICO. Which factors should we look at, and how we should question ourselves about the state and the legitimacy of this ICO? And I don't want to bother you with what ICO is. Probably particularly many of you know what ICOs are and how they function. But here we are facing a new era of ICO, which is very exciting, and that's why I'm here. And I appreciate the work of Casper and his team and the people around this very innovative, very visionary thought on building a tokenized version of a collaboration for a community around e-residency program. Wow, 28,000 people. It's amazing, it's amazing. So by this, I want to invite my fellow panelists. I told you I want to keep it short so we can have more time to discuss and talk about this structure of the framework behind analyzing how to plan and evaluate the ICO. So if I may invite Peter and Casper to the stage to discuss a little bit. I don't know if the time is running or not, so so we can discuss on how we can further collaborate and maybe realize the intentions behind doing an Estonian version of a cryptocurrency called sTcoin, which I'm very, very excited to. Please.
Thank you.
So, and Peter?
I'm here, buddy.
Great. And we'll leave the slide be there so we can sit here and discuss a little bit. So the stage is yours, Peter.
I think the biggest questions I have for the ICO for the government is also the security behind it when you put everything on the data. I know it's the 10-year anniversary also of Russia cyber attack in Estonia. Either it was a sad news, but these are the problems that you can have going later on if you put everything on there. If a different state, a rogue state, wants to hack into, like North Korea, just in case. So what securities are on there for the people to be able to make sure all that data is secure? I think would be one of the first questions I would have.
To me, I think it's very important.
And how you can guarantee for the people, Estonia, let's say, who signed up for the e-residency that their data are safe?
Yeah. So I guess everything would be built on top of existing infrastructure anyway. So that decentralized encrypted network, each person could have their own ID, unique ID code where they can decrypt, encrypt, of course. But yeah, I'm not a security expert, so I don't know to say anything about that.
Okay, but I know you guys have a cybersecurity defense team.
Yes, group. Estonia has actually quite many, and it has learned its lessons from a hard way, like 2007 cybersecurity attack, and how after that EU established this NATO's Cyber Defense Center of Excellence in Estonia. And now there are like daily basis those fake attacks to the systems to see whether it stays or not. But it's like ever-evolving process, you know, it's never perfect. With the recent ID card security risk, which Estonians also faced, it's a great example how even the encryption can't be trusted fully, so it needs further development all the time.
Correct.
But I guess what's good when we try to centralize something decentralized is that at least there is some control, you know, in that sense that it doesn't have to be single kind of point of failure control, but it can have a control of destabilizing and making the previous version work again, just deciding of that to exclude, for example, the DAO case, when things can go bad, the nation can actually step in. And in that sense, I think there are some pros also for nations to do that.
Right. All right. Casper, I have a question which has been bothering me a little bit since I've been reading about your intention on creating a tokenized version of this crypto, which is fueling the system inside the e-residency, as I believe, as I understand. How would you manage the governance structure around it? How would you make sure that the incentives of the people who are involved in this ecosystem are aligned?
Yeah, and it's tough, that's why, because if it's something truly decentralized, right, then kind of means that 51% of voters can change something. So if, let's say, our good neighbor buys 51% of sTcoins, they might have power to influence everything. So nations need to avoid that and gain more power through centrally. That's for sure.
Cool. All right. Another thing which is also I'm thinking about is you're probably going to be the first nation who has ever have been thinking on doing such a revolutionary tokenization based on very established infrastructure, which many countries don't have it. How do you see your advantage? I'm talking about the technology here. How do you see your advantage on having this technology in place and building tokenization of the economy around it on the top of this?
I think Estonia has a lead time at least for 5 to 7 years here, because we do need to identify each other who we are, hence digital identity. We do need to have a centralized mode, how we exchange data. All those building blocks needs to stay there. Like to avoid even basic use cases, like for example, if you lost your private key on some wallet, you're fucked literally because you can't access your funds anymore. If you back up that with digital identity, at least you can give fingerprints to your nation and you can have a new identity which you can unlock your private keys again. So even the basic structures of how government is built, we need to use them towards any tokenized network. And that's a difficult one for nations to do because most people internationally don't even want to have identities. So if you don't have identity, digital one, then you can't access anything digitally. Hence, there is no point to speaking even about tokenization. So that way, Estonia has a lead time. For luckily, I don't think anyone 20 years ago thought about tokenizing the whole nation and what business opportunities it can give it to you. But now it's time. Instead of speaking about efficiency, we can speak about business.
And my question is that, Estonia is very forward-thinking. Your politicians are on board to looking at this, and they've been on it for probably the last 10 years. I met your president earlier. She's very behind this thing. My question is, in other countries who try to get into this space, and they start doing this, and then someone else comes to power who are much more authoritarian, they have all these, all these data on people. How can you stop that going forward in the future about, something like that happened, that they start using it against you?
Yeah, so the whole system needs to be built open so that to avoid any cases to trust anyone. So I don't need to trust anyone in Estonia that our dear president, who I really like, that she would, I don't know, come and check my data without my knowledge. Because once it's encrypted and you can decrypt using your private keys, this gives the guarantee, and blockchain-backed X-Road gives another level of guarantee that no one can change the data there, because once someone checks the data, it's there. So today's technology really enables to empower citizens and give more opportunities that you don't need to trust people, you can trust mathematics and encryption.
But encryption is done by humans who make mistakes.
True that.
Yeah. And the following up on that question, I mentioned to you before, rather than doing the initial coin offering, which is the ECB came out very strongly against, doing something like maybe a bond offering on an Ethereum blockchain that people around the world can invest into Estonia for your infrastructure or any other, something like that.
I think the head of European Bank wasn't briefed well enough about S-coin. So we don't need to make S-coin as cryptocurrency. It's just technology, and it can be anything. It can be voucher, it can be token, it can be security, you name it. And I don't see much valuable use cases for being that as a currency. So if it's considered security or token, then the head of European Bank doesn't have anything to say what the Estonian nation will do or won't do.
Right, because you're neutrality.
Yeah.
All right. So we have 10 seconds left. Jenny,
I have probably I want to elaborate a little bit and try to compare this to a company ICO. When you're considering a normal company ICO, which we have been experiencing during the last year, actually the numbers are around $5 billion raised in 2017, way beyond VCs and so forth who are trying to invest in companies, earlier stage companies. So when we are comparing possible state-backed ICOs with company ICOs, to my eyes, there is a huge distinction between how you manage the security around it. So in that sense, you are working with e-residency. And right now, we don't have, I don't know if I'm right, but it seems like that there are not many incentives to hack the e-residency. I don't know if anybody who has been trying to do that, but when you are trying to tie an economic system to this technology, which is in place, you probably create a lot of motivation and incentive for possible hackers to try to get into the system, because then probably they can gain a little bit of economy there. So have you been thinking a little about
Yes,
about
definitely. Like whatever you do which creates value makes it more worth to hack. That's why we can't kind of stop being cool. Like we need to be extra cool to prevent those, to learn those hackings, so that there is another know-how kind of hub created, which we can start selling or have inside Estonia. So we can't stop thinking creative and doing business, even if those risks are there, and will be much more. So definitely.
We have to remember it's just the beginning. So we are just the early stages of this blockchain technology and ICOs. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. So thank you very much, Casper. Thank you, Edward.
Thank you.
I think it's some kind we can discuss going forward how this ICO is going to work, especially in the country in the future. All right, great. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.